Khazanah Nasional swung to a record profit in 2019 thanks to higher divestment gains and lower impairments, as well as robust portfolio returns. The sovereign wealth fund booked an operating profit of 7.36 billion ringgit, compared with a loss of 6.27 billion the previous year. It declared a dividend of 1 billion ringgit to the government. Looking ahead, Managing Director Shahril Ritza Ritsuan expects 2020 to be particularly challenging for Khazanah, which owns stakes in Plus Malaysia and Malaysia Airlines, as the COVID-19 outbreak hammers an already uncertain global economy. While the government's stimulus package is a welcome response, Khazanah is nevertheless preparing for global economic slowdown and warns it will be extremely difficult to repeat its 2019 performance. The FBM KLCI slumped to its lowest since December 2011 this morning after hitting an intraday low of 1,456.08 points. Investors were shaken by the political developments over the weekend, as well as concerns over the spread of COVID-19 in Malaysia. The index paired losses to close still 1% lower at 1,466.94. TA Security says, given the more bearish technical signals flashed by trend and momentum indicators for the KLCI following last week's sharp sell-off, investors can expect further downward correction this week. On the global front, the research house warns that increasing fears that a developing coronavirus pandemic may trigger a global economic recession should spill over to further dampen local market sentiment. Amid the pessimism, Eden Inc. and Thriven Global, stocks linked to PM Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin, soared today. Shares in Eden rose as much as 92.3% to an intraday high of 37.5 cent in early trade, before closing at 27 cent. Thriven's shares doubled at one point to 48 cent, before retreating to 31.5 cent, still some 43% higher than the previous close. Eden and Thriven are both linked to Muhyiddin's son, Datuk Fakhri Yassin Mahyudin. UMNO President Datuk Sri Ahmad Zahid Hamidi has been accused of contempt of court after the prosecution alleged that he had lied in order to get his corruption trial postponed this morning. Earlier today, Zahid's lawyers were granted an adjournment of proceedings after they said he had to attend a meeting with Prime Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin in Putrajaya to discuss the formation of the new cabinet. News reports quoting the Prime Minister's office, however, indicated there was no such meeting and that Muhyiddin was only due to meet the heads of security forces today. Accused of making a false statement to the court, Zahid's counsel denied that they intended to deceive, insisting that the UMNO president did indeed receive a letter from the PM's office to be present in Putrajaya, although the meeting eventually did not take place. The court then ordered Zahid to produce the letter tomorrow before it decides whether to cite him for contempt. Home improvement retailer Mr. DIY Group is said to be considering to postpone its planned initial public offering. Citing people familiar with the matter, Bloomberg reports the company is planning to raise about $500 million or 2.1 billion ringgit. However, it is now looking at delaying its listing again after the country's equities market tumbled on political uncertainty. According to Bloomberg's sources, Mr. DIY will finalize a decision on the share sale plan as soon as this week. It says Mr. DIY could still revive its plan as deliberations are ongoing and if market conditions improve. Mr. DIY's listing was initially planned for end 2019 before it was deferred to the first half of this year. It was expected to be one of this year's biggest IPOs. Proton Holdings saw its market share grow in February to its highest since August 2013, as it continued to see strong sales. The car maker sold 9,974 units last month, up 80% year-on-year and up 17.3% over January 2020. That boosted its market share in February to about 23.8%, the highest point in 77 months amid shrinking total industry volume. Proton CEO Dr. Lee Chun-rong says 3 models in its current range were the sales stars in February, finishing first in their respective segments. The Proton Persona retook the lead in the B segment sedan class with 2,653 sales, or nearly double that of its closest competitor. With 1,973 units sold, the Proton X70 was the most popular SUV, while the Exora MPV continues to have a stranglehold on the C segment MPV market, with 3,934 units sold.